Right. Um, Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm having some problems here with my connection. Just give me one sec. All right, there we go. All right, let me start that again. Sorry, I just had a small technical difficulty there. Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's speaker series. And before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge that we're in Saskatchewan. We're on treaty territory, specifically Treaty 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10. The, the traditional lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Dene, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis nations. We recognize and honor the rich history and contributions of Indigenous peoples to these lands and commit to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. We encourage you to strive to be allies for Indigenous peoples and reflect on the lands where you're situated and seek to learn of strength, resilience, and achievements of Indigenous peoples. My name is Sakai, and I am personally located on Treaty 4 territory here in Jansen, Saskatchewan. Um, I am a construction principal with BHP, and my role within Win-Win Saskatchewan, I am the co-chair for the events committee. Um, and I will be your moderator today. So, just a few housekeeping items um, before we get started today. Please keep your settings on mute, just so that we don't have any disturbances as we chat today. There will be opportunity if you raise your hand, if you have a question as Leah is speaking, please raise your hand and then we'll give you opportunity to unmute and kind of pose your question if needed. Uh, I am on my own today, so when it comes to questions in the chat, I might not be as efficient in uh, going between the chat and kind of like the conversation. So you'll have to excuse me that way. It'll be most easy if you need a question to put your hand up and I can kind of come to you. All right. So without further ado, I wanted to just welcome you all again. Today's Lunch and Learn is all about cracking the code, is the fun name that we gave it. Just our title is How to Build Standout Applications and to Leverage LinkedIn for Mining Careers. Today, we're going to hear from Leah Legacy. She is the branding and engagement manager with Peter Lucas, who's one of our big recruitment companies here in Saskatchewan. And we're hoping to learn from Leah just kind of some of those insider tips to help strengthen our applications and our digital presence as it pertains to our careers. So before we dive into the main discussion, I just wanted to take a bit of time to get to know Leah. So, we get a little bit acquainted as a group. So my first question that I had for Leah was just to give you an opportunity to just tell us about yourself, um, how you ended up at Peter Lucas, what you love about being there, whatever else that's cool that you think will be memorable for us to know.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me here today. I'm really excited to be able to share what I know about LinkedIn and recruitment in the mining industry. I am the brand and engagement manager at Peter Lucas Project Management. We are often confused as a recruiting company, but we only recruit for ourselves, but to work on other projects. And so we have a large list of clients that we provide project experts for, not just in the mining industry, but pretty much all heavy industrial sectors. My role as the brand and engagement manager is, I guess, unique. My portfolio that I looked after is anything marketing related. I look after a lot of our, special engagement and special relationship building activities, as well as our internal engagement strategy, and kind of a bunch of other things. I travel all over the country right now, attending a lot of mining conferences and different career events. And I also kind of backed up my knowledge with our own internal recruiting manager. And so hopefully have some good insights for you guys today.
Wonderful. So, icebreaker question for you, Leah. Leah, still kind of in the part of the conversation where we're getting to know you a bit.
Mhm.
What would you say would be the most rewarding part of your job, and maybe what inspired you to pursue this career in this kind of industry?
Okay. Admittedly, my career path was not in a straight line. It kind of did one of these squiggly things. And I spent the majority of my career working for the city of Saskatoon, and in a number of different departments. And like I worked for police, and I worked for transit, and I worked for the water treatment plant, and then through public works and roadways and operations. And so there was a lot of opportunity to fill a number of different roles. And I got to learn a lot of different skills. I volunteered on different committees and in the union. I was able to build, just a lot of different skills. And so I think what I did is I picked the skills that I was best at, which is probably relationship and reputation building and some adaptive business acumen, and somehow managed to make a career out of it. And so, but I would say that the most rewarding part for me is coming up with new ways to increase participation in the mining industry for those, traditionally underrepresented groups, like women. And I'm really involved with our reconciliation action plan as well.
That's really cool. To know it. It's always nice to hear that little bit. That's probably wasn't the main part of what you said, but it's what stuck with me. It's always nice to hear about companies that have someone whose job is to work on a new reconciliation action plan. I think sometimes we work on it on the side of our desks, and it's always nice to hear someone that says, "Hey, this is part of what I do here," which is really really cool. Um, and I think what you said also is before we got on, we chatted a bit about just getting to know each other one on one. That that is something that I feel sometimes gets lost is that with careers, a lot of people end up doing this and not just
Yes.
going like this. And part of the fun is doing this and getting a chance to learn different things, increase your skill set in different ways. Um, so it's cool that you brought that up as in that icebreaker question. So um, I guess the next question is just, to kind of put out a landscape on, you know, your perspective or your point of view on the industry as a whole. Um, yeah, maybe I didn't word that well, but I want to understand from you kind of what unique challenges or opportunities you've seen in the mining industry for, from a career perspective, because I think sometimes we get stuck in just these small things that we think are possible, and you know, paint us a picture, I guess, of,
For
of
sure.
some of those things.
So like I said, I have been moving around the country, and I've kind of picked up like all of these bits and pieces from, all the different provinces. And, in some regards, different provinces are looking for different things. But one thing that is consistent everywhere is that forecasting the future of labor in mining is always top of mind. The Canadian mining industry as a whole is ramping up. There's more mines, more production, more projects. Trades are in very high demand. And so, if anyone's looking to make a move to the mining industry and you have a trade, that is going to help you. Or if you're in school and looking to decide, that might be something you want to consider. If I'm going to put our own plug in, Peter Lucas is always looking for mechanical engineers and project managers, and having that mechanical or instrumentation kind of background is really helpful as well.
Yeah, that's quite interesting to know is just that demand for trades. Because I know oftentimes in some of these settings we focus on the engineers and the people that came out of you know tech school, the technologists and stuff like that. And it's good to know that there's that big demand for career path in the trades, which is very, very, very rewarding.
Mhm.
Um, all right, so kind of moving on some of our more practical skills of the things that we need to be doing to be able to have good applications and kind of having success that way. Um, I'm an engineer. I am not a writer. I I really just cosplay as someone who is comfortable speaking and writing, but it's not something that I always feel outside of my skin. So resume and cover letters. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
Um, what are some of the key elements that you look for kind of in a strong application? Just beyond meeting the basic qualifications that might be noted in the job posting.
I'm going to give you the key element. It's,
Oh,
all of your qualifications are in there and stuff like that. But
mhm.
most recruiters in this industry could be going through, you know, 300 or more applications a week. And so you need to have a good summary of your skills at the top of your, whether it's in your cover letter or at the top of your resume. Maybe you duplicate that information to make sure it doesn't get missed, but a good summary of skills that are applicable to the job you're applying for. So make sure you're customizing for each role. Take a look at the skills that are in the job posting and directly relate how your skills will or how you fulfill that their qualifications. Don't make people guess or search for that relevant information.
And the next question that I have for that's a really good one because I think sometimes we fill our cover letters, especially with a lot of words. Um, and really, it's like just be direct. Tell us what you've got, is what I'm hearing from you, and how that's going to apply directly to the job posting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how can candidates highlight transferable skills effectively? Do you have any tips around that?
Uh, I actually have a couple of tips here. So,
Yeah.
listing your specialized courses that you've taken is, always one way to do that. So, like your conflict resolution, your adaptive leadership courses, any specialized technical courses that maybe you've done to enhance or specialize your skills. For new Canadians in particular, list any English courses that you've taken to, prove out that your English skills or, the work that you're working towards improving those communication skills. And the credit assessment through the World Education Services. So those from coming and maybe this is old news to everybody, but it's just filling in that skill gap and making sure that your skills are transferring over geologically as well. Geographically, that's the word I'm looking for.
That's actually good. Good. Thank you for that. Kind of bringing in that aspect of new Canadians and how we can, bring those skills from back home and make them relatable or understood in the Canadian market. So this is a big one. What are we doing wrong as candidates? Like, what do you see as some of the common mistakes that candidates should avoid?
Okay. So when you're writing out your work experience, this is a good place to start. Don't talk like I'm going to talk about this from a project management perspective.
Yeah,
but you
go ahead.
can relate it however you need to or ask questions. Don't talk about, what the project was about or what the team achieved. Use active words that show what you were responsible for and what your part was, what the skills you used or learned was. So, for instance, you could say accountable for personal safety and that of my team. That shows that you actively are aware of safety. Monitored project deliverables to ensure the project remained in scope. That kind of active language shows that you possess the skill to manage these kinds of things. You want to avoid graphs or any like highly technical jargon. It's usually HR or a recruiter that's reading through those first, and they need to understand your qualifications. And part of clear communicating is explaining things so people that are not as technical as you can still understand it. You want to avoid paragraphs of information. I know everybody loves to use ChatGPT or try and flex their really big vocabulary in their resumes, but all you're doing is hiding your key points. And quite honestly, sometimes, the translation might get all mumbled up, and that's not a language speaking thing. It's just your intent might not come out, and you might end up not talking about yourself with too much information in there. So provide, list information, provide highlights that you can expand on in the interview. You don't have to give all the information in your application. And the other thing to avoid is you want to list your information chronologically, but make sure your newest experience is at the top. So you want to avoid like having to search for the information. And that means, scrolling down through your application to find the information. Put the most relevant and recent information as high up as in that particular section as possible.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. That's quite helpful. I know a lot of folks sometimes when on the job search, they're trying to get as many out there as possible, and you bring in ChatGPT or other AI tools to help you uh, crank out more applications. And I think it's good to know where sometimes those things hurt us and kind of actually take away from our application, then add to it. Be direct is kind of the theme that I keep hearing from you today. Is be direct. Make sure that your stuff, your skills, and who you are isn't hidden through some other fluff. All right. So now, for me, this is a big question. I really want to know the answer to this one. What is, as someone who's has experience sitting on the other side, what really um, signals to you that a candidate is a strong fit? How do you balance those soft skills versus your technical skills in that process?
This is where you get to flex your words, and then we're going to go back to those active words. We're going to remember that we're not going to use paragraphs, but we're going to use lists to show clear communication. Still use full sentences. Like, don't, we're not Neanderthals or Neanderthals, whatever you want to say, but still use full sentences, but don't disguise your skills in paragraphs. If you're wanting to show technical and soft skills at the same time, those active words like evaluated, something technical, managed, something technical, created, supported, collaborated on. Those are how you're showing your soft skills alongside the technical. Yeah.
And what makes a candidate memorable during the recruitment process?
That your skills and qualifications are easy to find. that is memorable. If we can be like, yup, that's then we know that stands out for sure. Not too scripted. So you did mention, like we mentioned Chat GPT a little bit. Chat GPT can put out some really great, summarizing paragraphs and stuff like that. If you know, upload your whole resume and you ask for, I need a summary for an application for this job with these skills highlighted. It's garbage in, garbage out. You give Chat GPT as much information as they can. They'll send something back really quite nice to you. However, review it and change it to how you would speak. It needs to be in your tone, because if we see this like amazingly well written paragraph, but that's not how you communicate in real life, or you don't have, even the skill set to communicate at that level, it's a little bit like lying in your application. So make sure it sounds like you. We were talking about this earlier, that the mining
Yeah.
industry is incredibly relationship based.
Hmm.
So don't be afraid to let like show off the companies that you've worked for in the past. Put people that, as your references. Maybe make people find out what the connections are and put references in there that the company you're applying for may know and recognize. And lastly, be team oriented, even in the application process. Be willing to help out the process as quickly and efficiently as possible. We actually see quite a bit where recruiters will come back for more information, or maybe where there's lots of different recruiting platforms out there, and people will populate the information that they have on hand and leave other things blank. Put in all of that information, everything that is requested of you, because the more complete picture they have, you're going to stand out more.
That's wonderful. So we talked about technology a bit. So ChatGPT, we've touched on that a bit, but you know, in the last, I don't know, several years, LinkedIn has become, as a social media tool, massive for, I mean, I think perceived to be massive. So I'm hoping that you'll demystify a little bit on how impactful LinkedIn really is. Um, so like how, people, recruiters looking for candidates, how much is LinkedIn a thing? Like how much is that used? How much, yeah, I guess I think you get
Uh,
the gist of the question.
in
Is it
short,
important?
yeah, in short,
Yeah.
LinkedIn is the thing. So
Oh,
even
okay.
if you have put through, this amazing resume, beautiful cover letter, you've gone through all of their recruiting platforms and entered in all of your information, likely those recruiters are still going to go to your LinkedIn profile. It's a highly used tool. They have, a recruiter's version of the platform. So they have abilities to, search by certain skills, search by certain regions. And they have the ability to see your profile without you being notified that someone's viewed your profile. So they're looking for, if they're not getting the applications that they're wanting, they're out there looking for you regardless. And so I would say, like, they use it to verify your skills in your application. They'll verify your contacts, like find out who you know, and just to see in general what kind of person you are. And that part's not limited to LinkedIn. So
Good to know. That subtext was strong. Yeah, that is not limited to LinkedIn at all. So all social media is that's what I'm hearing from that, is that all social media is public information technically, you know.
absolutely.
So I guess wondering if you have any tips or tricks with respect to LinkedIn. So kind of like what you might think would be kind of some of the most important impactful ways that candidates can optimize their LinkedIn profiles for careers in mining.
Current information is like, if you do nothing else, make sure your information is current. if you've worked on a new project or you've learned a new skill or you took a new course, make sure you're popping it in there. Um, like painting that complete picture is going to be good. Be truthful. Obvious. Maybe that's not obvious, but it's be truthful in all forms of the application. That it always comes out at one point or another. Things that might make you stand out a little bit more is having a good branding statement. And I believe Women in Mining had a session within the last year, I want to say, on personal branding. And I just want to second that is important. A good branding statement ties your skills and your values together. And so it lets people know who you are, even when you're not in your role necessarily. So for mine, for example, is focused on creating opportunities for connection and collaboration. Leah turns big ideas into achievable plans with confidence and enthusiasm. I would never talk like that. This is where you could probably use ChatGPT and it'll be just fine. If you're looking to summarize everything together, that's a really big statement, but because it's tied to my values, it'll always ring true. The last tip is stalk the companies and the people that you want to work with. And so that doesn't mean like start messaging them, like don't slide into their DMs or anything like that. You can message directly, but what I really mean is follow the companies, learn who their leadership is, follow the leadership, make sure you like or comment on posts and stuff, because people do watch that. I watch that. Actually, that is my job, is I find out who interacts with us digitally. And it's important to us to see. It's it's like if you have an inner circle and an outer circle and it's rings of relationship status, the closer you can keep getting into the center of that relationship, the better. And so don't be annoying, but be engaged, to summarize that.
That's a good byline. Don't be annoying, but be engaged. So Michelle Hardy has a question she's put in the chat here. It's You've answered, I think, some of it, but just I'll ask it the way that it's written, and then you can kind of add whatever you feel you might not have shared with us so far. So it says, does showing more engagement on LinkedIn matter? Liking and reposting, or is it more about what you've listed on your page?
I would definitely say that having the right information on your own page is going to be most important, because if you're watching people are watching you, and that's the end game, is you want people to come and look at you and see your skills. So I would say that is the most important thing. But it's like networking digitally, going out and being engaged. It's putting yourself in front of people, so that maybe when that right job opening comes open and you slide your application across, you are already a familiar name.
Yeah. So I think that's a yes, that engagement does matter. So thank you very much for that question, Michelle. I've actually reached the end of my questions, and so I'd like to open it up to everyone. If you have questions that you'd like to ask Leah on this topic, anything that's burning, if you're job seekers or not job seekers, just kind of curious on how you can position yourself as you apply for jobs or interact within the mining industry. Give everyone a minute if you'd like to ask any questions.
I'm just popping links to my personal LinkedIn profile in the chat, as well as Peter Lucas's. Feel free to engage with us.
Thank you for that. Hang on a sec. Is that just your links? I don't know what's going on here with everyone. Okay, that's what's happening. All right, Sarah Harrison has a question for you as well here. Do you have any tips, tricks, resources on how to develop your branding statement beyond ChatGPT.
Yes, I am going to pop a Amazon link in here. I have this is the book. Oh geez, this is a huge link. I'm sorry, guys. So this book is called Brand You. And this is the book that I went through to develop my statement. I'll let you know the statement that I have currently is not the first one I ever made. As you know, my career has grown. I don't think it's something that you need to change every year or anything like that, unless you're doing huge growth steps. But that was the book I used, and so I recommend that one.
Okay, so Brand You Talents Winning Formula. I'm just reading it from the link. So folks, please grab that book. And then we have a comment or question from Daniel Hamilton. Curious what you would recommend to someone older that went back to school to get an advanced degree um, in appearing attractive as a job, as a candidate for a job. So someone who's kind of gone back to school at a later time, and they re-entering the job market as a new person with this new degree, basically. What can we do to become more attractive as a job candidate?
Like beyond plastic surgery? No, I'm just kidding. It's I love this question. The
Yeah,
last time I was the last diploma I got at the age of 38. And
yeah.
so that's older-ish. And I felt like everybody's mom when I was going to school.
Mhm.
But I think we can say that that's, yeah, someone older going back to school. And honestly, hmm, I think that you like ageism isn't maybe as relevant as it used to be. Maybe that's not my experience, but I feel like people that are older in life, you have a lot more life experience, to draw on. So that's really good ways to bring in those soft skills. Um, Say you were a volunteer on a board, say what your responsibility was in that. I don't know if you were working before or not, but use as much experience from the rest of your life as you can, and there's a lot of ways to do that. I love lifelong learners, and I don't think that is actually a deterrent on your application at all. So I think it's already attractive.
Absolutely. And I think kind of to tie into what you said, just that opportunity for those transferable skills of the plethora of things, you helped with your kids, coaching your kids soccer and, or sat on a board for the school or, there's like so many things that we do um, as we go through life that we can throw in there and mix in with our education as we go along. All right. Wondering if there's any more questions. Seems we've perhaps that's kind of all that's out there for today. I will give folks another 2 minutes in case someone has something is typing and need a minute to just get the oh, there we go. um Hosea, I hope I said that right. Hosea Thomas has a question here and says, could you please share your assessment on the current job market for junior engineers? What is life like? What is the opportunity for young engineers fresh out of school or early career professionals?
I have, so I can only speak from our perspective right now. We hire a lot of engineers. And so I know that the majority of our engineering opportunities come in that they're wanting like 3 to 4 years of experience at least. And so if you're talking 3 to 4 years in experience and above, like you're actually sitting in a really great position. If you're coming, right out of school, you don't have any experience, or you like have limited experience, don't be afraid to take a job lower than your qualifications just to get a foot in the door. Maybe you need to take a position as a project coordinator, or something that doesn't necessarily, I know everybody's excited to get out and I'm going to be an engineer and I'm going to get an engineering job. Get your foot in the door. If you're having any kind of difficulty at all, just getting into the mining industry, like we said earlier, it's relationship based. You go in and you show how amazing you are, and you'll move up in no time. That's my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that time and time again with different folks that come in kind of maybe not in the role that they want, but they get into a role that might not be their favorite, but they get in and they build those relationships and they're able to scale to the place that they're trying to go. Now we have, all of a sudden, the questions are coming in. Whew, I feel under pressure. Okay, so the next one is from Val McLeod. And Val is saying, she's wondering, I've made an assumption that Val is short for a female name, but I'm
It is. I
wondering
know
if,
that.
oh, you know Val. Okay, good.
Yes.
I am wondering if there is any other platform beyond LinkedIn that can showcase our experience and job history. Do you know of?
uh, So I guess this is where I get to give my Peter Lucas plug. So uh, when you apply with Peter Lucas, and so I don't know of any real public facing platforms. But if you came to Peter Lucas's website and you went through our career pages, we have a platform that we call The Bench. We developed it in house, and we use it as a marketing tool for our people to submit our bids on certain pieces of work. And it's just to kind of make a more like uniformed approach, but we also include other things like personality assessments and finding out where your natural abilities, what project phases you would be foreseen to have the most rewarding experience in, as well as a chance for you to provide a video elevator pitch. And so when we send our clients over, our the people that we're saying would be best for this project, they're getting a full picture of who they're receiving. Like I said, we built that in-house, and so I don't really know. I know that you can have like Indeed profiles and places like that where you can set your resume up, but I don't think it has the same usability as LinkedIn in a public sense.
Thank you for that. Martina has a question here. So she's asking, if I apply for several jobs, I modify my resume summary based on the jobs I apply for. If the recruiter compares the resume summary with the summary in LinkedIn and their differences, the resume summary is job specific and LinkedIn is more general. Do you think that's an issue? So basically, they're saying they've customized their resume summary to submit, but it's not going to match with LinkedIn because LinkedIn is just something more general. Is that an issue, do you think?
In my LinkedIn profile, I'm actually pretty specific, in a more general sense, whereas I like with my skills and what I've been responsible for in the past. But on my resume, I will say it is largely identical. And the only thing that really does change is that summary of skills that just will draw attention to different points within my resume. And so it is largely, the same, because if I have those skills, I want them to be represented, whether it's a qualification or not. So I think focusing your changes on that summary, and then you're not having to change your whole resume every time. I hope that helps.
Yeah, right. I think that was good. Uh, all right. So the next one, I think it's Lewis, Cloette. Um, the S is missing, but I think I know who it is. Appreciate your comments on lifelong learning. What is your recommendation for someone applying for Peter Lewis? What learnings catch your eye? Oh, that's very direct.
I'm
Love
going to
it.
refer, I had a conversation with our recruiting manager before this,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to refer to my notes. uh, Industries that you've worked in is really important. If you don't have specific mining industry, and I mean, because we represent, like, we work in the mining industry, we're in heavy construction, we work for the water security agent, like, we have a wide variety of different clients that we work for. And so we want to see what industries you have experience in,
Mhm.
and whether they're necessarily known to us or not, just relaying those transferable skills, those are really important to us, and then hitting the qualifications. And actually, most of my answers today, I will say, are fairly Peter Lucas specific, other than like the more broaded mining industry questions.
Yeah, no worries. This is a really good one because I find this sometimes with new Canadians, people come here and they study and they do like graduate level studies and so on and so forth. Um, so this is a pretty good question that I wonder about a lot. It is from Marine Jobert, and is having a PhD, project management applied to the mining industry, scary for employers. So those higher level graduate degrees, um, do they, I guess what I'm wondering, and I hope I'm not adding too much to your question, Marine, is like, are you, when I pick up that resume as a recruiter, am I thinking, oh, this person has a PhD, they know too much, or they're too educated, they're overeducated, or um, something like that?
Yeah, no, I think I understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from. You know what? It depends on what kind of role you're applying for, obviously. If you're applying for a junior role, um, maybe it's something that you drop from the resume, but you can discuss it in the interview, just
Mhm.
to make sure that you get that foot in the door. I could see how, some companies might, um, if they're filling a role that doesn't require a PhD or that level of training, I could see how it could be intimidating that, you know, sorry to the engineers in the room, but you have a reputation of, of, of maybe thinking you're the smartest ones in the room. And so you put PhD on there and it could be threatening.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
that's probably the most honest answer I can give.
that's a good answer. Yeah. And a good strategic one too. All right. It seems we've run out of questions, for real this time. Um, I just, want to say thank you, to Leah for coming and chatting with us. And I really hope that for all the 22 people that are signed on today, that this has been a fulfilling conversation and we've learned something that's going to enable us in our journeys, in the mining industry, in life, wherever things are taking us. Leah, can you give you an opportunity to, you know, any more? If you have anything else that you'd like to sign off on as a
Oh, I don't think
parting
I have
thought.
any last words or
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
like that. If anything, I
yeah.
hope this opens up a continued conversation. Please, like, feel
Mhm.
free to reach out on LinkedIn. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions if anyone thinks of anything else later on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, look Leah up on LinkedIn, utilize the link, and please connect with her on LinkedIn. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. And please keep your eyes out for more events from Women in Mining Saskatchewan. Yeah, and happy holidays. Enjoy the last bit of the year. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.